Hello, this is Aaron Maller from Parallax, and this is just a quick video to go over the updates that we've made so far to the prototype for the Parallax Cedar application. In the last video, we had said so far we were just focused on getting seats placed, and the only ones that we had working at the time were the concentric arcs that you can see here. Since then, we've also been focused on wanting to look at how people may lay out their seating in different ways. As a recap, it doesn't necessarily require you to use filled regions. You can also just use lines, detail lines, or model lines that make up the boundary. You can also use a floor or a roof or a topo solid sketch. But in this demo video, I'm going to use filled regions just because it's a little faster for doing the demo. I wanted to make sure we were covered in terms of if somebody sketches one region and then mirrors it to the other side, or whether they sketch two inside one boundary, or whether there's sketches that have donuts in them for vomitoriums, AV areas, something like that, and if there is multiple loops that have multiple different void loops inside them as well. But just to get back to the basics, the seating all works the same as the last video. You can now select your regions and then select what we call a reference line, which is how to orient the seats to it. So here, because we're in concentric arcs, it's taken the reference line and it's offsetting it by the row spacing and the seat spacing to generate where the seats should go. Instead, if we now switch it to straight rows, what we do get is, since we've told it that we want to have 4 chords, what it does is it says, well, we're going to break the arc into 4 distinct chords, like so. And those chords are then going to be what gets offset to create all of the different rows. This functionality is now working great. The one thing I still need to fix is that for some reason it orients them backwards compared to the concentric arcs, but we have the flip button for that. So you'll see here that you can flip the orientation. We do have justification. I'm leaving it on center in this demo because we have 2 zones. So if you tell it to use the start, then it'll put both sides on the start, which won't make a whole lot of sense. You would want to do 1 zone on start and 1 zone on end. Having said that, if we actually run the Cedar app, then you'll see that all the chairs will get placed. If there is a floor or a roof or a topo solid that is sloped or shape edited, they will properly offset using the offset from level parameter so that they're at the correct elevation. And we do also now have the updater mostly working. So the updater, if the boundaries change and somebody selects the updater and then either selects the chair arrangement or the boundary, it will add in or remove chairs as necessary. If we pull this boundary in, let's try that again. Maybe you do need to select the boundary. There we go. And you'll see that the chairs have now updated. The reference lines don't need to be curved and they don't need to be in the seating area. That's just something that I like to do as a demo, but you can have straight seating as well by simply selecting a straight reference edge, and then you'll get all straight seating. We still have a few more things that we have to build in. There is also now some custom offsets that we've built in, and an example of this is if we were to select this region and we were to say use this reference line. There are a few different ways to calculate where the chairs are going to go. So we've created what's called 2 boundary cleanup conditions. The one that's called check distance is a little more conservative. It basically checks every chair's placement position to make sure, or to try to make sure it's not too close to the boundary. The faster processing method is just trying to offset the actual boundary loop itself. This, I find, tends to miss a little more and leave some seats overhanging the boundary. I'm still going through how all the math works when it offsets the boundaries. But we have built in some overrides on this as well. So as an example, if you were to say that you wanted to add 12 inches to the front, you'll see here that it started peeling off some chairs. But it's not a perfect science because you don't know which arcs it's considering the front. It tries to take a guess, but it doesn't necessarily do a great job. The check distance method is a little better, even though it's more conservative. We may end up just having that version when we're done. But on the whole, they do work pretty well. There is an aisle depth now, even though row spacing has the aisle built in. We have that because of how we're trying to calculate the offsets around each side of the polygon. So of course the distance required at the back is just half the thickness or half the depth of the chair, but at the front it's half the distance of the chair plus the aisle. So not a perfect science yet, but hopefully we'll get it to where it's working a little better. So right now it is working. Updater is working. Update all is not working yet. And we're still experimenting with a few other things here. We still have a few other modes to get built in. But if we look at some of the ones that have the voids cut out of them, here I have the chord lines drawn, but that's just because I was verifying that the chairs were getting placed properly, and I was doing that by actually drawing the lines so I could figure out where they go. So like in this particular situation, if we put it back on straight rows with 4 chords, it should match those lines, those detail lines that are drawn there. So we'll wait for that to pop in, and you can see here that basically this chord line is now dividing where the chairs go, and so on. So there it is. It's trying to space around all of the void sketches as well, and we're storing the association between the boundaries and the chairs inside extensible storage, and each chair is also keeping track of its seat slot, as we call it, which is basically its row and its chair number. And that's how we're working on, as an example, I'll do this one because it's simpler, but if I take these chairs and we override them to be a different color just for a second, it's not doing a destructive edit, or we're trying not to do a destructive edit. So when we're adding chairs with the updater, you'll see where the new chairs come in, and then where the old chairs come off. It does in the straight rows configuration, we do have a little more trouble with this, where it is still sometimes moving the chairs from the front to the back, but for the most part it's still getting the job done. So it's not 100% there yet, but we should have this pretty fleshed out before AIA next week. So pop by if you're there and come check it out.